Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 2, Julie Insect Valley. Chapter 54-81 The Legend of the Ten Springs. 54th of Volume 2. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. When Li Weiyi's spiritual power left his body and transformed into spiritual qi, the yellow light on his sword's surface surged. The four-winged Spider King, already possessing a degree of intelligence, displayed human-like shock in its eyes. Its abdomen flushed red as if consumed by flames, and it spat out a beam of crimson light. Boom! The crimson light shattered under the force of Li Weiyi's powerful sword strike. As the sword tip descended, the four-winged Spider King raised a silver-white spider leg, resembling a metal spear, to defend itself. The leg was severed. The four-winged Spider King was sent flying backward, emitting a guttural cry of pain. It then retreated into the spider swarm, flapping its wings. Li Weiyi wanted to pursue, but as his mind cleared, the pain from his injuries flooded his body. The six desires talisman on his chest began to flicker, and his consciousness grew hazy. The thought of Shi Luyu, imprisoned in the wolf den for 2 months, jolted him awake. He frantically searched his belongings for a medicinal pill. He retrieved one and swallowed it immediately. Looking ahead, he saw only a dense swarm of flying winged white spiders. The four-winged Spider King had already vanished. The 800 or 900-year-old purple Sistanch lay several miles behind him. Trying to fight his way back through the spider swarm to retrieve it in his current condition was simply impossible. Forget it. I'll come back another day. Let's go. Li Weiyi waved his hand and, riding a giant camel that was half real, half illusory, pursued the flatboat that had drifted a mile away. The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors fought and retreated, consistently holding off the flying winged white spider swarm that pursued them. Countless spider corpses littered the underground river. Returning to the flatboat, Li Weiyi stowed the giant camel into the evil camel bell. Finally collapsing from exhaustion, his legs buckled, and he nearly fell onto the boat. Only then did he realize that the four-winged Spider King had torn a finger-long gash in his thigh. Fortunately, the corpse garment soft armor he wore on his upper body had protected his vital areas. That four-winged Spider King's combat strength was definitely comparable to a 5 seas realm martial mystic cultivator. Surviving that brutal battle was pure luck. It's truly as difficult as climbing to the heavens for a spring surge realm cultivator to leap across an entire realm and defeat an opponent of a higher realm. Li Weiyi sat down, supporting himself, and immediately channeled his spiritual qi along his silver veins to heal his injuries. The 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors had fought with the ferocity of 7 phoenixes, covering his retreat while he healed. In the end, they had slaughtered so many spiders that the swarm dared not pursue them further. Upon their return, they were utterly arrogant, tearing open the ghost banner that shrouded Xuanhuan and pouncing on the scarlet Sistanch, devouring it with an air of, if I don't eat it, who has the right to eat it? 1 day later. Yin'er Shi sat cross-legged on the stone platform at the spider cave's entrance, practicing the breathing technique. Beside her lay a bloodlight gem, its light illuminating the stone walls surrounding the blood river like a spiritual lamp. A small boat was tied to a stalactite pillar below. Hearing an unusual splashing sound, she abruptly opened her eyes. How could it be so fast? Yin'er Shi had never undergone the 7 Springs trial and wasn't familiar with the exact conditions within the spider cave. However, she knew that anyone who managed to pass the trial typically took at least 3 days. Splash. A small boat, 6 or 7 meters long, drifted slowly out with the current. Li Weiyi sat alone at the boat's bow, his back straight, eyes closed in meditation to heal his wounds. The silver veins in his Fengfu spring acupoint had begun to emerge one by one, stabilizing his cultivation realm. The number of veins in his body had increased to 96. While still short of the 100 silver veins, the gap was steadily closing. Boom. The 2 boats collided, causing the hulls to shudder. Li Weiyi exhaled a long stream of turbid air and looked at the slender, tall figure standing on the stone platform. 3 days passed so quickly. I thought only 2 days had gone by. Not even 2 days have passed yet. How did you manage to do this? Yin'er Shi drifted down onto the boat. After taking a look onto the chaotic scene on Li Weiyi and Xuanhuan's flatboat, she was slightly taken aback. Did you encounter a spider swarm attack? She knew the 7 Springs trial tested mental fortitude and pressure resistance. Surviving the 3 days without disturbing the spider swarm was the key to emerging alive. Once the swarm was alerted, everyone would perish within. The flatboat was piled high with the corpses of flying winged white spiders and masses of spider silk. Of course, the ghost banner, evil camel bell, Sistanch, and phoenix-winged moth emperor had long since been collected by him. It was indeed a fierce battle, exceptionally perilous, Li Weiyi said, still shaken. Yin'er Shi re-examined Li Weiyi. No wonder Yinwu had specifically mentioned him. This man was clearly extraordinary, concealing a great secret. After securing the 2 flatboats together, they began their return journey. Li Wei asked, can we exchange these spider corpses and silk for precious medicine? Yes. Standing at the stern of the boat, Yin'er Shi glanced at Yaoan, who remained frozen like a block of ice, and asked curiously, why didn't you seize this opportunity to eliminate your greatest competitor? Those who are soft-hearted or swayed by beauty never survive to the end. Li Wei no longer considered any of the current batch his rivals. He ignored the question and instead lowered his voice, want to make a deal. Yin'er Shi paused. Li Wei continued, there's a precious medicine nearly 1,000 years old inside the spider cave. If we work together, we're sure to get it. The flying winged white spiders were too numerous for Li Wei to handle alone. Moreover, he wasn't certain there was only one spider king inside. What if there were other dangers? Other spider kings? Teaming up with a 5 seas realm cultivator was the safest bet. Yin'er Shi was slightly tempted, but quickly hardened her expression. The precious medicines in the trial grounds are rewards for the trial participants. Hidden ones aren't allowed to harvest them. Besides, what right does a 7 Springs martial mystic cultivator like you have to collaborate with a 5 seas realm cultivator? I'm an insect tamer. Otherwise, how do you think I survived the spider swarm? Li Wei tried to persuade her further. Hidden ones can't harvest the precious medicines, but there's no rule against them entering the trial grounds, is there? You just provide the protection, I'll do the harvesting. She had no idea how this man had survived the swarm of spiders, but she knew the flying winged white spiders were incredibly numerous. If she were trapped in a spider cave, even with her cultivation, she would likely perish inside. Furthermore, she, a dignified 5 seas realm hidden one, collaborating with a mere 7 Springs martial mystic cultivator. It was an utter joke. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Seeing her unmoved, Li Wei had no choice but to abandon his persuasion. He decided to wait until he reached the 9 Springs realm or the 5 seas realm before attempting to harvest the Sistanch. The boat returned to the river valley at the entrance of the Zhu Insect Valley. After disembarking, Li Wei took the spider corpses and silk to the Zhu Hidden Sect's mountain gate to exchange them for precious medicine, leaving Yaoan with Yin'er Shi. As he left, Li Wei couldn't help but try one last time. That's a Sistanch, easily weighing over 100 pounds. Its large quantity makes it easy to divide, and its value is at least equivalent to 10 other precious medicines of the same year. It can replenish yang energy and boost blood production. Since you just broke through to the 5 seas realm a little over a month ago, it's perfect for nourishing your blood qi and tempering your physical body. Of course, you absolutely must not try to harvest it yourself. It's extremely dangerous. There's a 4-winged spider king guarding it. Li Wei saw that Yin'er Shi was genuinely moved, and immediately began to worry about being eliminated. He said, I'll definitely go back. If that Sistanch is picked, it'll undoubtedly be you. I'll report you to the Lord Yin. Think about it carefully. Yin'er Shi stared at Li Wei's retreating back, her forehead furrowed with gloom. This is outrageous. She thought, a trial taker who might not even live to see next month dares to threaten a hidden one. The hidden sect's mountain gate lay deeper than the psychic telekinetic stone wall in the medicinal cuisine hall, guarded by an elderly man in black robes. Like the old man of medicinal cuisine, he was a hidden one from the previous 60-year cycle. Upon seeing him, Li Wei respectfully addressed him, Elder. Thud. He set down the boat he had been carrying on his shoulder. The gatekeeper's eyes widened slightly at the sight of the boat laden with spider corpses and webs, but he remained silent and exchanged 3 precious medicines for it. They were 3 silver forsythia plants, each 200 years old, capable of refining silver veins. Li Wei frowned slightly and asked, are there any precious medicines that can help temper the golden vein meridian? The gatekeeper's composure far surpassed that of Yin'er Shi, the young girl. He chuckled, you certainly have ambitious goals. The golden vein meridian is known as the dragon meridian within a martial mystic cultivator's body. Even tempering just one would greatly benefit your future cultivation in the 5 seas realm and the Dao Seed realm. The hidden sect does possess a golden vein tempering method, but it places extreme demands on physical strength, making it unattainable for Spring Surge realm martial mystic cultivators. Li Wei asked, what level of physical strength is required? The gatekeeper pointed to an iron pillar standing not far outside the mountain gate. That is the supreme secret heavy weapon, the 5 seas pillar. It weighs 5,500 catties. Only 5 seas realm martial mystic cultivators can lift it using their physical strength alone. If you can lift it in the Spring Surge realm, you'll qualify to temper your golden vein meridian. Even Yao Zhengsheng, a natural prodigy with immense strength, could only wield 1,000 catty iron rod as a weapon with the aid of spiritual power. Relying solely on physical strength, even he would find it difficult to lift such a heavy rod. This already represented the pinnacle of physical strength attainable in the Spring Surge realm. Li Wei walked toward the black 5 seas pillar. It was only as thick as a forearm, with about 7 feet of its length exposed above ground. Over the years, only Yanju in the 9 Springs realm has managed to budge it. Even Yin'er Shi-san, a naturally strong giant, came up short. See how it's almost rusted through. Did you just move it? The gatekeeper was rambling on when his voice suddenly spiked with excitement. He had clearly seen the 5C's pillar shift a fraction. He hurried over. You didn't use any spiritual power, did you? Li Wei shook his head, gazing at the rust on his palm. I can't lift it with my current physical strength. I'll need to eat more medicinal cuisine and refine my body for another month or two. He turned away, a touch dejected. The gatekeeper stood frozen for a moment, then reached out to grasp the 5C's pillar and test its weight. 5,500 jin. No problem at all. Wait a minute. The gatekeeper stared after Li Wei's retreating figure, his brow furrowing into deep wrinkles. He muttered to himself, if he moved it, why is he so disappointed? Back in the Blood Forest Cliff Cave, Li Wei took out the scarlet cistanch and ate half a pound. The lingering sense of loss quickly dissipated, replaced by renewed fighting spirit. My advantage is shrinking. Yin Ju could shake the 5C's pillar in the 9 Springs realm, while I need to open the 8th spring to do the same. Fortunately, the cistanch can enhance my blood qi and temper my physical body. But will 500-year-old cistanch be enough to replenish it quickly enough? Li Wei was acutely aware that his cultivation time was too short and that he had started tempering his physical body too late. After a moment of contemplation, he entered the Buddha's relic to consult Master Guan about tempering his golden vein meridian. You're aiming to break through to the 10th spring divine gate? Master Guan suddenly asked. Li Wei was stunned. There's a 10th spring. Master Guan replied, the 10th spring is legendary. I've never heard of anyone actually breaking through to it. But many geniuses who temper their golden vein meridian harbor that fantasy. In the end, they waste their precious time, miss the optimal age for opening the 5C's, and gain nothing but regret. Master Guan immediately explained in detail, the younger you are, the easier it is to open the 5C's. Once you pass 30, your physical condition gradually declines. Only by reaching the Dao Seed realm can you stabilize this decline. Cultivating to the immortal realm is the only way to reverse the aging process. In other words, the most gifted martial mystic cultivators, those at the inheritor level, must open the 5C's and strive for the Dao Seed realm before 30. This is crucial for maintaining rapid progress and pursuing even greater heights. Wei Yi, though you started later than everyone else, your progress has been remarkably swift. You might consider attempting this, but don't become obsessed and trap yourself in it. Li Wei understood Master Guan's concern and smiled. Since the 10th spring is so elusive, I won't dwell on it for now. But I've heard that the Golden Vein Meridian is known as a martial mystic cultivator's Dragon Meridian. Tempering it brings immense benefits. Master Guan laughed heartily, of course. Back in my day, one of the reasons I became a top 10 martial law powerhouse in the Lingxiao realm was because I tempered 18 Golden Vein Meridians within my body. These laid an unbreakable foundation, allowing me to survive several near-fatal meridian ruptures. In the era of the Three Masters, the Lingxiao realm boasted 300 states, far surpassing its current strength. To rank among the top 10 martial law cultivators back then held far greater significance than the current champions of the ancient myriad sects. If you wish to temper Golden Vein Meridians, I can teach you the Baifeng tempering method, an ancient technique of the ancient immortal giant beast Baifeng, a secret art of our clan, Master Guan said. Master Coffin's voice echoed, the Baifeng tempering method requires a vast amount of ancient immortal giant beast blood. I suggest you instead study the Azure King tempering method of the Zhu Li clan, which uses the natural light of heaven and earth to temper the veins. Fortunately, you can borrow the Buddha's relic to absorb a massive amount of natural light, which would greatly accelerate the tempering process of the Golden Vein Meridians. This isn't bad. It won't cost much either. Li Wei agreed with Master Coffin's method but immediately added, but the light underground is dim. The glow from those luminous plants might not be enough. I need to become a hidden one as soon as possible, return to the surface, and find a secluded place with ample light to cultivate. Spirit Tablet Master said, Wei Yi, if you can quickly cultivate the Fang Kun flame in your third eye Yintang spiritual realm into a Fang Kun bright blaze, the Shaoyang star might be the ideal place to temper your Golden Vein Meridian. The Fang Kun bright blaze is the third realm for spiritual mind masters. Li Ling had reached this level, with combat power comparable to a Seven Springs martial mystic cultivator. Li Wei asked urgently, Master, what do you mean? I'm not sure, I can't say for certain. But after your psychic telekinesis power cultivation advanced from the Fang Kun flame to the Fang Kun blaze, your blood mud space doubled in size. If you break through again, there will undoubtedly be further changes here, Spirit Tablet Master replied. Master Coffin said, no need to rush. We can pursue both paths simultaneously. For now, focus on recovering from your injuries. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 2, Julie Insect Valley. Chapter 55, 82, Yao Yin's Assassination. 55th of Volume 2. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. After leaving the blood-mud space, Li Wei couldn't shake the words of his spirit tablet master from his mind. What changes will occur on Xiaoyang Star when your psychic telekinesis power breaks through again? For the next 3 days, Li Wei avoided strenuous activity. He focused on consuming medicinal cuisine to aid his recovery and spent time in the blood forest cultivating his psychic telekinesis power through devouring light to nourish fire. Trial takers returned one after another. Li Wei didn't know how many had perished in this first trial, but the medicinal cuisine hall was noticeably quieter than before. Seeing Yaoyan emerge from the stone gate, Li Wei quickly rose to leave. Wait a moment. Yaoyan feigned composure and indifference, her hands clasped behind her back as she entered the blood forest, keeping a distance of about 10 feet. In the spider cave, why didn't you kill me? This was the first time he'd seen her in 3 days. Li Wei replied, when we entered the cave, didn't we agree to eliminate the other competitors first? I was simply fulfilling my promise. With that, Li Wei hurried away toward the medicinal cuisine hall. Yaoyan clearly didn't believe his answer. She quickly followed, maintaining a distance of at least 10 feet. Fine, let's leave it at that. I will repay the favor I owe you. Repay the favor? Li Wei asked. Yaoyan exuded the arrogance common to all martial mystic cultivators with a pure immortal physique. You're the one who fed me the Sistanch precious medicine, aren't you? I've turned misfortune into fortune. In the past 3 days, I've already broken through to the 8th spring. Among all the competitors, only that 9th spring supreme is slightly troublesome. Very well, I'll eliminate all the other competitors and leave you for last. Last to kill? Li Wei asked. Yaoyan's expression turned stern. There's no other choice. When the time comes, I'll give you a fair duel. Li Wei nodded, secretly vowing to give her the same opportunity. By the way, what exactly happened in the spider cave? Why were you covered in ice cracks? Li Wei asked casually. To his surprise, Yaoyan's mind was consumed by the words, covered in ice cracks. Unpleasant images flooded her thoughts, and her good mood vanished instantly. Her eyes turned cold and distant. Shameless. It seems Yin Shi was right after all. Yaoyan snorted, channeling her spiritual power to quicken her pace and distance herself from him. She no longer wanted to walk alongside him. Li Wei stood frozen in place, utterly bewildered. He had no idea which word had offended her. He muttered to himself, it's her problem, definitely not mine. What exactly did Yin Shi say? How can a hidden one be so gossipy? When they arrived at the medicinal cuisine hall, Li Wei and Yaoyan sat as far apart as possible. The surviving trial takers arrived one after another, totaling 18 people, all present. They had gathered so punctually because today's medicinal cuisine was exceptionally rich, a reward for everyone who had passed the trial. 8 people died in the first trial. It seems that even without resorting to mutual slaughter, surviving until the final month won't be easy, a mortal martial mystic cultivator who had achieved 8th spring opening said with a cautionary tone. Among the 4 8th spring martial mystic cultivators, 1 had died, leaving only 3. The tiger-like aberrant humanoid 8th spring martial mystic cultivator licked his lips and sneered, if we eliminate all the competition early, we won't even need to participate in the trials. We can just declare victory. The mortal martial mystic cultivator's expression darkened, knowing he was no match for the other. Defeat meant death. After finishing the medicinal cuisine, Yaoyan suddenly lunged forward like lightning. Her speed was astonishing, and the spiritual artifact dagger in her hand aimed straight for Li Qing's throat. There was no warning. Even Li Wei was stunned. He never expected that the tiger-like aberrant humanoid 8th spring martial mystic cultivator, who had been making threats all along, wouldn't make the first move. Instead, the seemingly frail and delicate Yaoyan had become the first to publicly attack a competitor. Clearly caught off guard, Li Qing could only react hastily. Swish. The dagger narrowly missed Li Qing's neck, leaving a bloody scratch on his chin. He had come within a hair's breadth of being killed in a single strike. Good. Since you're courting death, I'll send this pure immortal physique out of the competition early. Li Qing touched his chin, his hand covered in blood. After the initial shock, a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. He drew his sword and slashed out. Yaoyan had intended to exploit her superior agility and Li Qing's ignorance of her breakthrough to catch him off guard and eliminate her strongest rival. A month earlier, during Li Qing's fight with Yin Ju, she had observed that his agility was his weakness. But she hadn't expected him to overcome this weakness in just a month. The body technique he had used to evade her assassination attempt had clearly reached the heavenly Tao and law harmony level. Swish. Swish. Their body techniques were both exquisite and peerless. They burst out of the medicinal cuisine hall and appeared on the plaza below the psychic telekinetic stone wall. In an instant, countless shadows flickered, and spiritual artifacts clashed repeatedly. It was common knowledge that a pure immortal physique possessed monstrous combat strength, capable of fighting opponents a realm above their own. The 8th spring opening tiger-like aberrant humanoid watched the battle intently. What a pity. So close to a successful assassination. Though he feigned regret, a relieved smile spread across his face. Li Wei said, "Go and lend her a hand. Perhaps you can drive away the 9 Springs Supreme. And then what? She'll come after me next." The 8th spring opening tiger-like aberrant humanoid martial mystic cultivator wasn't stupid. He knew who the real enemy was at this stage. PFF'd. Li Qing unleashed a heavenly Dao and Law Harmony level sword technique. A piercing sword chime filled the air as his sword shattered Yaoyan's heavenly wind palm technique in a single strike. The sword pierced through her palm, exiting through the back of her hand. Yaoyan gritted her teeth, enduring the excruciating pain. She immediately yanked her bloodied hand away and vanished into the purple bamboo forest in a flash of movement. Just after breaking through to the 8th spring, you dare to ambush me. Aren't you being a bit too hasty? Li Qing roared in anger, but instead of pursuing her, he raised his bloodstained sword and turned his murderous gaze upon the crowd behind him. His eyes locked onto Li Wei in particular. He had sensed Li Wei's spiritual chi fluctuations just as he was about to press his advantage and kill Yaoyan. He knew Li Wei was no ordinary person. The Earth Wolf King's army had specifically sent him to monitor Li Qing. But in the current situation, only one of them could survive. Li Qing was certain Li Wei had been planning to follow Yaoyan's example and launch a sneak attack. With her pure immortal physique wounded, Yaoyan was sure to be hunted by every 8th spring opening martial mystic cultivator. But before that, Li Qing was worried they would unite and take him down first. After careful consideration, Li Qing decided not to immediately pursue the fleeing, defeated foe, who couldn't escape. Instead, he chose to intimidate the pack of wolves, who were already circling, eager to strike. Yinner Shi Si, Yinner Shi Wu, Li Qing shouted to the 2 hidden ones standing at the edge of the square, that pure immortal physique has dared to attack me. Can I kill her at any moment now? Yinner Shi Wu replied, any low-level cultivator who strikes first forfeits their right to protection. If you wish to kill her, we will no longer intervene. Li Qing's gaze swept across all the 8th spring opening martial mystic cultivators, including Li Wei. Did you all hear that? You only have one life. Before you strike, it's best to weigh your strength carefully. Li Wei had truly wanted to attack earlier, but he held back, realizing he still had some doubts that needed to be verified privately with Li Qing. If I challenge the psychic telekinetic mural, can they ambush me? Li Qing asked, intending to add another layer of deterrence. Yinner Shi Si replied, of course not. Good. Li Qing strode toward the psychic telekinetic stone wall and pressed his hand against it. Whoosh. The half-illusory, half-real form of Yin Ju emerged from the stone wall, wielding a massive axe and attacking Li Qing. With a thunderous boom, the axe clashed against Li Qing's longsword. Li Qing was knocked back 4 yards, his face instantly paling, his sword-wielding hand trembling uncontrollably. Facing Yin Ju's second axe strike, he immediately activated the Heavenly Dao and Law Fusion body technique to dodge. Boom. Boom. Li Wei watched the battlefield, where a man and his shadow clashed, and nodded slightly. Li Qing has improved so much in just 1 month. A month ago, a single exchange had sent his sword flying, leaving him utterly defenseless against Yin Ju. Li Qing had endured 7 blows before his sword finally fell, immediately conceding defeat. Yinner Shi Wu was stunned. How could he have improved so drastically? Even I can only withstand 4 blows from Yin Ju now. Yinner Shi Si's eyes also widened in admiration. Someone who can become a 9 Springs Supreme outside the 9 Springs trial is naturally no simple matter. Yinner Shi San arrived, his massive frame appearing beside them. He obtained a great opportunity during the 9 Springs trial. His meridian veins is probably close to becoming a full silver vein. In another month at most, once he achieves full silver vein, he'll truly be invincible among this group. But he still can't possibly defeat Yin Ju. Yin Ju is at the peak of mortality, possessing 100 silver vein marks, Yinner Shi Wu countered. The newcomer's strength put pressure even on Yinner Shi Si, and her gaze unconsciously flickered towards Li Wei. Li Qing picked up his fallen sword, his gaze sweeping over the stunned 8th spring martial mystic cultivators. Then, following the lingering aura of Yaoyan, he vanished into the purple bamboo forest. One martial mystic cultivator, utterly dejected, said bitterly, what's the point of continuing this trial for us? I feel like the spot for Yinner Shi Lu 26th hidden one is already set in stone. A tiger-like aberrant humanoid 8th spring martial mystic cultivator suggested, why don't we all team up and take him down first? Team up. Just us. We might have stood a chance if we had teamed up with the pure immortal physique before she lost a hand. But now, with only one hand, her combat power probably isn't much stronger than yours. Li Wei walked across the square, glancing at the distant red psychic telekinetic stone wall. Not wanting to further demoralize the pitiful group of cultivators, he decided to find Li Qing first. Li Qing activated his law technique and followed the blood river downstream. Where do you think you can run? Once you pass this valley, fierce insects infest every corner. After pursuing for over 20 miles, Li Qing suddenly slowed his pace. 3 underground river tributaries branched ahead. His gaze locked onto the narrowest underground river entrance on the far right, a slight smile playing on his lips. That fragrance on you has been giving away your location the whole time. How can you escape? You wouldn't dare venture deep inside. You must be hiding near the entrance. The fierce insects within would devour your flesh bit by bit, the agony akin to slow slicing, a fate worse than death. Come out. Dying by my sword is far more merciful than being devoured by those insects. Hidden in the shadows of the cave entrance, Yaoyan tore off a strip of cloth from her clothes. Gritting her teeth, she trembled as she wrapped the bleeding wound on her palm, the pain-causing beads of sweat to erupt on her forehead. When Li Qing's spiritual artifact sword pierced her palm, the sword had been imbued with spiritual qi, preventing the wound from healing quickly. Yaoyan, don't be afraid. We're all going to die eventually. Don't be afraid. You lost, yes, but didn't you prepare for this before coming to the hidden sect? You're not afraid. You're not. Fight. Leaning against the stone wall, she sat on the ground, her chest heaving. She struggled to overcome her fear of Li Qing, striving to regain her fighting spirit and condition as quickly as possible. Just as she mustered the courage to charge out, a familiar voice suddenly echoed from outside. Li Qing, it's time we had a proper conversation about what happened between us. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 2. Julie Insect Valley. Chapter 56-83 Identity Exposed. 56th of Volume 2. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Li Qing watched Li Wei stroll toward him along the riverbank, a look of surprise on his face. The combat prowess he had displayed earlier at the psychic telekinetic stone wall hadn't intimidated his opponent. Instead, Li Wei had come seeking him out. More importantly, Li Wei exuded an air of calm and casualness. Where did this confidence come from? Li Qing remained wary, forcing a smile. All right, I'll finish my business first. The 8 Springs pure immortal physique is not to be underestimated. Li Wei stopped 2 meters away. I suggest we talk first. So you really came to play the hero. Li Wei, the beauty of a pure immortal physique woman does indeed stir compassion, but this is the hidden sect. If she survives, you and I will die. A cunning glint flashed in Li Qing's eyes as he feigned a smile. Since you're so tender-hearted, here's a deal. I'll let you enter the cave for 1 hour. After that hour, she must die. Then we can talk at our leisure. He was adept at exploiting human weaknesses. Once Li Wei fell for his trap, Li Qing would let him enter, seize the opportunity, and eliminate them both. Li Wei shook his head. You underestimate me. Also, you'd best put away your petty schemes. It's been a month. Have you found a way out yet? Li Qing said, it's not that simple. It took us several days to reach this place from the underground river, passing countless branching paths along the way. There's only one way to return to the surface, become a hidden one. And to become a hidden one, you must. Whoosh. The longsword in his hand erupted in blinding light, like a bolt of lightning piercing Li Wei's heart. The spiritual qi was highly concentrated, with a foot-long, razor-sharp blade of light extending from the sword's tip. Kill all your competitors. Li Qing didn't underestimate Li Wei, mobilizing all his 9 Springs spiritual power. They both knew each other's secrets, so he had to silence Li Wei forever before the hidden sect arrived. As for the rule against higher realms killing lower realms, he had already devised an explanation for the hidden sect. That was the 6 Desires Talisman. He would simply tell the hidden sect that he discovered a 6 Desires Talisman planted on Li Wei, planted by another faction's spy. Since there would be no evidence to contradict him, he could easily get away with it. Li Wei stood his ground, one hand behind his back, making no move to draw his sword. He raised his right arm, activating the 8th spring within him. Spiritual power surged through his silver veins, converging in his palm. The heaven-turning palm seal formed, distorting the air around his hand. A palm struck out. In front of his palm, spiritual qi condensed into a 3-foot square phantom of a divine seal. It collided with Li Qing's war sword, showing no fear of suffering the same fate as Yaoyan. Boom. The phantom of the divine seal vanished in a flash, and a powerful palm force surged outward. Li Wei remained standing in place, his feet not even shifting. In contrast, Li Qing was forced to retreat repeatedly, leaving deep footprints in the ground before finally dissipating the overbearing palm force. His sword-wielding hand trembled with unbearable pain, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. The palm seal Li Wei had unleashed was too extraordinary. This was no longer the technique of a Spring Surge realm martial mystic cultivator. Hearing the commotion and realizing the 2 men outside had already engaged, Yaoyan immediately charged out of the side channel's cave entrance, clutching her spiritual artifact dagger. Stepping on spiritual qi, she skimmed across the water's surface like a dragonfly, her slender figure soaring into the air like a celestial maiden. I'll lend you a hand. If we joined forces, we might still have a chance. Li Qing was too powerful, he might already be a full silver meridian cultivator. She knew the arrogant newcomer was no match for him. But to Yaoyan's surprise, Li Qing, despite his immense spiritual power and ability to fight two opponents simultaneously, suddenly turned and fled. Trying to escape, Li Wei activated his clear void cicada chasing step. Li Wei's body seemed to have lost all weight. His feet barely touched the ground as he stepped on the grass, leaving behind a trail of afterimages. In an instant, he intercepted Li Qing's path. The yellow dragon sword had already been drawn, and with a domineering sweep, he unleashed a sword strike that could even split the sea. Sizzle. Bright yellow sword chi tore through the air, leaving behind a 10-foot-long trail of light. Li Qing, fully aware of the sword's power, turned pale. He dared not hold back in the slightest, channeling the spiritual chi from his Fengfu acupoint to unleash a heavenly Dao and Law harmony level sword technique to defend himself. Boom. The defense shattered instantly, sending Li Qing flying backward as his robes exploded. Li Wei pursued, leaping dozens of feet into the air. With a thrust of his sword, 100 sword shadows erupted like celestial maidens scattering flowers. One sword became 100. Li Qing roared, fighting with the desperation of a cornered beast. Ancestral field spiritual chi surged through his body like a raging torrent. Gripping his sword with both hands, he swung with all his power. PFF'd. PFF'd. He couldn't completely defend against Li Wei's Rui Chenkan sword strike. 2 bloody holes appeared on his body, and the sound of bones cracking echoed in the air. You can't possibly be in the Spring Surge realm. You're in the 5 Seas realm. Knowing he was no match for Li Wei, Li Qing unleashed his full movement technique to escape while shouting these words, hoping to attract the attention of the hidden sect. If we're going to die, we'll die together. Li Wei was slightly faster than Li Qing, catching up in just 3 breaths and delivering his third strike. The fourth followed immediately. Even with the massive amount of spiritual chi he mobilized from his ancestral field, Li Qing struggled desperately to defend himself, finding this fight even more grueling than his battle against Yanju. Ultimately, while the ancestral field resembled a chi sea, capable of storing spiritual chi, it wouldn't undergo a fundamental transformation until he reached the 5 Seas realm. Each strike from Li Wei felt like a mountain crashing down, leaving Li Qing gasping for breath. PFF'd. Finally, Li Wei broke through his defenses. The 5th strike pierced Li Qing's forearm, the hand holding his sword. Li Qing let out a low, pained scream as his spiritual artifact sword clattered to the ground. Clutching his wound, he stumbled backward, leaving a trail of blood droplets on the riverside grass. Boom. Li Wei pursued him, delivering a solid palm strike to his back. Li Qing vomited blood, completely losing his fighting ability and the ability to flee. He rolled and crashed to the ground. By the time Li Qing tried to rise again, the tip of the yellow dragon sword was already pressed against his throat. It took me 6 moves to completely defeat you. Among the 9 Springs Supreme, you're actually quite strong, Li Wei said, clearly dissatisfied with his performance, despite having fought with everything he had. True, he had defeated Li Qing 1 move faster than Yanju. But Yanju was merely a mural, possessing only combat techniques, combat awareness, and combat intelligence that couldn't compare to the real person. Li Qing had been too focused on fleeing earlier, his fighting spirit was very weak and his condition was also nowhere near to what it had been when he fought Yanju. Yaoyan, watching from afar, was utterly stunned, unsure what to do with the dagger in her hand. 7 Springs. 8th Spring. What realm was he truly in? Yaoyan had always known Li Wei was strong, but she couldn't have imagined him surpassing Li Qing. Even a 9 Springs pure immortal physique might not possess such power. Tell me, which tribe do you belong to? Li Wei demanded, his tone interrogative. The terror in Li Qing's eyes gradually faded, replaced by a mocking smile. Whose side are you really on? If I refuse to reveal this secret, does that mean I might actually survive? Don't be so clever. Slash. Li Wei raised his arm and severed Li Qing's left wrist. You have 2 choices, die slowly or die quickly. Li Qing gritted his teeth, glaring at Li Wei. He finally understood the true horror of the man. Blood gushed from his severed wrist, and his entire arm grew increasingly cold. Sensing something, Li Wei looked up to see Yanju arriving. Meanwhile, the usually silent old man of medicinal cuisine, clad in black robes, appeared before them, his feet treading on wisps of spiritual light. Each step covered over a dozen yards with astonishing speed. You won't get the answer by asking. You'll have to use psychic telekinesis power to make him talk. A spot of light appeared between the old man of medicinal cuisine's eyebrows, unleashing a surge of formidable psychic telekinesis power. 9 strands of psychic telekinesis power, like streaks of light, shot forth from his third eye spiritual realm and pierced into Li Qing's skull through various acupoints. His psychic telekinesis power was incredibly potent, his body radiating light like a blinding miniature sun. Li Wei hastily retreated, his mind reeling in shock as he warily eyed the old man of medicinal cuisine. It was now undeniable, the hidden sect knew far more than they let on. Li Qing, realizing he had been exposed and was doomed to die, attempted to drag Li Wei down with him. He was sent by the Earthwolf King's army. Shi Luyu planted a Six Desires talisman on him. Ah! Boom! Amidst a piercing scream, Li Qing's forehead exploded. A ball of intensely hot spiritual light flame erupted from beneath his eyebrows, instantly incinerating his entire head into ashes. His death was utterly gruesome. The old man of medicinal cuisine's eyes narrowed as he retracted the 9 strands of psychic telekinesis power. He frowned deeply, muttering to himself. As expected, he was implanted with death spirit fire. Any attempt to use psychic telekinesis power to manipulate his consciousness and force him to speak would trigger the spirit fire. The old man of medicinal cuisine glared at Li Wei, his displeasure evident. You've ruined our plans. Xiao Yin or Shi Si, take the body and come with me to see the Lord Yin. Yin or Shi Si lifted Li Qing's headless corpse with one hand and turned to Li Wei, a mixture of confusion and curiosity in her eyes. Clearly, Li Wei's display of combat prowess had stunned her, plunging her into self-doubt. After all, she had personally examined him when they boarded the ship, confirming his cultivation level was indeed 7 springs. Li Wei was even more puzzled and curious. Watching the two figures grow distant, he couldn't help but ask, what about me? Shouldn't I be going with you? There was no response. They completely ignored him. The hidden sect must have known Li Qing was suspicious all along. The reason they didn't act was to lure out the bigger fish behind him. But if they knew Li Qing so well, how could they not know I'm suspicious too? Even if they didn't know before, Li Qing just told them everything. Why aren't they even investigating? Li Wei grew increasingly anxious, debating whether to immediately produce Master Coffin's letter. A faint fragrance drifted over. Yaoyan appeared beside him, her almond eyes filled with complex emotions. In a soft, melodious voice, she asked, are you truly sent by the Earthwolf King's army? Are you asking if I've been implanted with the Six Desires talisman? Li Wei replied. Yaoyan wasn't very familiar with the Six Desires talisman, but even from its name, she could guess its nature. This immediately clarified Li Wei's previous actions. After careful consideration, Yaoyan said, you must have been forced into this. I believe the hidden sect hasn't punished you because they understand this too. In fact, as long as you demonstrate exceptional talent, you still have a chance to become a hidden one. Yaoyan wasn't foolish. She knew Li Wei had caught up to her at that critical moment to save her. That's why she spoke these words of comfort. Regardless of Li Wei's true identity, he had been genuinely kind to her. Li Wei looked at her with a strange expression, realizing Yaoyan's words held some truth. However, with Master Coffin's letter in hand, he didn't need to prove himself. He decided to deliver the letter immediately. Passing through the mountain gate marked the true entrance to the Zhuli hidden sect. Outside the Lord Yin's cultivation cave, a 17-story stone pagoda stood, built against the cliff face. Each level of the pagoda blazed with a radiant spiritual light flame, casting vibrant colors across the dimly lit underground space. The Lord Yin, wearing a mask, examined the headless corpse of Li Qing on the ground. He shook his head. That old fox was too cautious. He left no trace. Our leads have completely dried up. Which of the 9 clan chiefs could it be? Old man of medicinal cuisine asked. Even Yinwu doesn't know. Yinwu said that the clan chief has been closely associated with Coffin Mountain, concealing his identity all along. It's likely only Shu Fodu and Shanjing know who he is. The Yin Jun hidden lord continued, he must have been subdued by the forbidden one of Coffin Mountain. Otherwise, how could a clan chief level existence possibly betray us? Old man of medicinal cuisine's eyes widened in shock, even such an ancient being has entered the fray. The Yin Jun replied, the Lingxiao Palace's situation is dire. They're retreating step by step, gradually losing their authority over the world. The various demons, monsters, and ghosts who previously dared not act are naturally starting to have their own ideas. Fortunately, the upheaval in Burial Immortal Town bought us valuable time to prepare. Otherwise, the war that would have engulfed all of Li Province would have already erupted. The old man of medicinal cuisine said, this battle is inevitable, but before it begins, we must purge our internal threats. Should we inform the Dao Academy and the Divine Temple, let them investigate? No, that's too likely to alert our enemies and could expose Yinwu. They want to understand the Zhuli hidden sect, don't they still have a chess piece? Yin Jun suddenly asked, that boy, defeated Li Qing in 6 moves. Has he broken through to the 5 Seas realm? That's precisely what's so strange. He's clearly not in the 5 Seas realm, yet his combat strength seems to rival Yin Ju's, the old man of medicinal cuisine replied. If he truly is an extraordinary genius, then we must give him a chance. This game still hinges on him. Yinwu said that he helped the Zhuli clan greatly and has good relations with the Kandli tribe. He's just an innocent victim caught in the crossfire. After a moment of thought, Yin Jun continued, since he's so powerful, immediately arrange a second trial for him. At the same time, we'll test his choices. Yin or Shi Si, this task falls to you. Li Wei arrived at the mountain gate and informed the elderly gatekeeper of his desire to meet the Yin Jun. The Yin Jun isn't someone you can just see whenever you please, the gatekeeper said, even I find it difficult to meet him. I have something extremely important to discuss. Please, Elder, help me announce my arrival. Li Wei dared not reveal the secret of the chief's impending return to the full hidden sect. The more people who knew, the more eyes would be on him, and the more easily his secrets would be exposed. It was enough for a few high-ranking members of the hidden sect to know. Old man of medicinal cuisine and Yin Shi descended the mountain, one after the other. Little one, old man of medicinal cuisine said, don't be so flustered. We know all about your background. The 6 desires talisman and the Earth Wolf Army King Army aren't important matters. What truly matters are your choices and your talent. 12th Shi come, let's play a game of chess. Old man of medicinal cuisine pulled the gatekeeper away. Li Wei turned his gaze to the upright and elegant Yin Shi. I must see the Yin Jun. Yin Shi replied, the Yin Jun has arranged a second trial for you. Once you complete it, you'll naturally be qualified to meet him. My matter is important, Li Wei insisted. Yin Shi replied, nothing the Yin Jun deals with is unimportant. Besides, you know the hidden sect knows everything. What you know, the hidden sect knows. What you don't know, the hidden sect knows too. Do you understand? To us, you're completely transparent. Li Wei suppressed his frustration. Why is it so hard to communicate with you? Never mind. If you're not in a hurry, neither am I the second trial. Isn't that too soon? Trials were dangerous, and no one wanted to participate more than necessary. Yaoyan had been so eager to attack Li Qing precisely to become a hidden one as quickly as possible and avoid further trials. Yin Shi said, eliminate all Changgulan gang leaders at 7 springs and above. Li Wei froze. Yin Shi was pleased by his expression. Now do you believe we know everything about you? I thought all trials took place underground. The Changgulan gang is far away in Zhuli City, Li Wei said. Far. Hidden 24 smiled. You've caught the Yin Jun's eye. This is a special test he's prepared just for you. If you pass, you'll likely become Yin Shi Lu 26th Hidden One. Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 2. Zhuli Insect Valley. Chapter 57-84 Defeating Yin Ju, Confronting Yang Shenjing. 57th of Volume 2. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. What about the others? What's the point of their existence? To continue risking their lives for a spot they're destined not to get? Li Wei asked. Entering the hidden sect is like entering hell. Without that mental preparation, they have no right to be here. A thought suddenly flashed through Yin Shi's mind, and she smiled. If you're so compassionate, why don't you try comprehending the battle intent of the Zhu Li God and defeat the 3 figures on the psychic telekinetic mural? You could become a divine hidden one directly, and Yin Lu's spot would naturally become vacant. Becoming a divine hidden one directly. That was easier said than done. The Zhu Li hidden sect hadn't produced such a figure in over a dozen cycles of 60 years. She suspected Li Wei had spoken those words because of Yaoyan. His refusal to kill her in the spider cave and his subsequent intervention to save Li Qing, his intentions were crystal clear. It wasn't surprising that a pure immortal physique would have such allure. Which hero doesn't love a beauty? Very well, I'll give it a try. Li Wei strode toward the psychic telekinetic stone wall, eager to test his skills against the 3 figures. Yin Shi hurried after him, her curiosity piqued. Who was stronger, this unfathomable eccentric or Yin Ju? Li Wei had always possessed an indomitable spirit, facing every challenge with unwavering determination. He approached the psychic telekinetic stone wall and slowly pressed his palm against it. Whoosh! The wall trembled slightly, and within it, spiritual light, spiritual qi, and scriptures rapidly converged, coalescing into a humanoid mural. Yin Ju, a 13-year-old boy, stepped out of the mural, wielding a massive axe. Are you ready? He asked. Li Wei sensed an aura far more powerful than Li Qing's, similar to the one he had faced against the 4-winged Spider King. I'll go first. Boom. With a stomp, spiritual qi surged from his feet. Li Wei soared dozens of feet into the air, his foot hovering in the void. His first strike was a full-power Heavenly Dao and Law Harmony level Rui Chenkan sword strike, intended to gauge Yin Ju's strength. Yin Ju tilted his head slightly, and hundreds of sword shadows materialized in his half-real, half-illusory pupils. Open heaven, split earth. The first axe of the 36 axes of the heavenly demon. Clang! Clang! Axe and sword clashed, like metal and stone repeatedly striking with brutal force, sending sparks flying. Within a radius of dozens of feet, the air crackled with intense energy. Yin Ju was forced to retreat a step to defuse Li Wei's relentless sword pressure. In the next instant, the two collided again with explosive force. Yin Ju actually retreated. Hidden Yin Shi exclaimed in disbelief. Among the hidden ones, no one had ever forced Yin Ju to retreat even half a step in the 9 Springs Ancestral Field Realm. Inside the medicinal cuisine hall, 2 elderly men who had been preparing to play chess paused their game and turned to watch the fierce battle unfolding on the distant plaza. Elder Ao Shan remarked, could it be that another supreme mortal has emerged? It's hard to say. Hard to say. The gatekeeper elder replied, at least in terms of physical strength, he's not weaker than Yinju. Even among those beings who had undergone the 9 springs opening, the number of meridian veins within their bodies varied greatly, ranging from 80 to over 90. Mortals and deformed humanoids showed little difference in meridian veins count, both falling within the range of 81 to 99. 100 meridian veins was nearly the recorded limit. Pure immortal physiques, however, held a significant advantage over mortals and deformed humanoids. After the 9 springs opening, they almost always possessed 90 or more meridian veins, with exceptional individuals exceeding 100. Each additional meridian vein granted a further advantage. Elder Ao Shan observed, it seems evenly matched. The outcome will likely depend on who has mastered more heavenly Tao and law harmony techniques, whose breathing technique is stronger, and who can wield spiritual qi more skillfully. Yinju's situation doesn't look good. Boom. Rumble. Li Weiyi's favorite tactic after gaining the upper hand was to press his advantage with relentless speed, relentlessly expanding his lead until he crushed his opponent with overwhelming force. After Yinju retreated that one step, he never advanced again. Suddenly, Yinju's body erupted with brilliant light, becoming noticeably more solid. He swung a battle axe imbued with powerful spiritual qi. Clearly, the psychic telekinetic stone wall was simulating the combat prowess Yinju would possess when mobilizing the vast reserves of spiritual qi within his ancestral field. Li Weiyi had already opened his Fengfu acupoint, but it was merely a lesser qi si, capable of unleashing only one ultimate strike. Naturally, he couldn't afford to use this trump card lightly, it had to be reserved for the most crucial moment. Let's see just how powerful your ancestral field combat prowess truly is, Li Weiyi said, his excitement growing with each clash. His fighting spirit surged, and without flinching or dodging, he met Yinju's descending battle axe head-on. Boom! The sword and axe collided again. The stone slabs beneath their feet shattered completely, and a shockwave of spiritual qi erupted outward in a violent ripple. In the distance, the branches and leaves of the purple forest rustled violently in the wind. Li Weiyi finally couldn't withstand the pressure and was sent flying backward 20 feet. The moment his toes touched the ground, he shot forward again, wielding his sword to unleash Tai Opens the Sea. He clashed head-on with Yinju's ancestral field spiritual power, his fierce gaze radiating an indomitable aura of, I am the number one under heaven. Yin Ershisi had already unconsciously held her breath, he doesn't seem to be using ancestral field spiritual energy to enhance his combat power. How can he still clash head-on with Yinju like this? He's utterly disrespecting Yinju. In a true duel, this would be nothing short of contempt. She couldn't even begin to imagine that Li Weiyi was actually only at the 8th spring cultivation realm and had no ancestral field spiritual energy to draw upon. Elder Ao Shan anxiously asked, how many rounds have they fought? The gatekeeper elder hadn't been counting. Yinju's ancestral field spiritual energy is almost depleted. He'll be defeated within 5 moves. Elder Ao Shan's throat grew dry. This kid hasn't even used his ancestral field spiritual energy yet. Could he truly become the first divine hidden one in over a dozen cycles of 60 years to break the rules? Shatter. Shatter again. Third shatter. Li Weiyi unleashed 3 consecutive strikes of the heavenly Tao and law harmony level Tai Yi Si opening technique. Each strike was more powerful than the last. By the third strike, he amplified the technique's power by 10 to 20% through sheer momentum and fighting spirit alone. Boom. Yinju's illusory form shattered, dissolving into countless motes of light that flew back to the psychic telekinetic stone wall. Yin Ershisi, who had been holding her breath until she was nearly suffocating, finally took a long, deep breath and slowly exhaled. Yin Ershi-san and Yin Ershi-wu, startled by the earth-shattering commotion, rushed over, their eyes wide as they stared at the figure in the plaza. What did we miss? Yin Ershi-san asked. After a long silence, Yin Ershi-si replied, you missed a god-slaying event. In the eyes of the hidden ones, Yinju, at the 9 springs realm, truly seemed like a god, instilling in them a sense of eternal defeat. Yin Ershi-wu said, Yinju's physique in the surging spring realm was the peak of mortality. Defeating him with a mortal body is indeed like slaying a god. If he becomes Yin Ershi-lu 26th Hidden One, he'll be the top contender for Divine Hidden One. Yin Ershi-si chuckled, haven't you realized yet? He's not aiming for Yin Ershi-lu 26th Hidden One. He's aiming to become a Divine Hidden One directly, to become our leader. Yin Ershi-san and Yin Ershi-wu were both taken aback. No, he doesn't stand a chance. 23rd Hidden One, Yin Ershi-san analyzed. Yinju was at the peak of mortal cultivation, possessing the 100 silver meridians. In terms of physique alone, he could have challenged 100 meridians pure silver immortal physique. But at 13, his body wasn't fully developed. His combat techniques and the number of heavenly Tao and law harmony techniques he had mastered were limited, leaving a clear gap in combat strength compared to 100 meridians pure silver immortal physique. Li Weiyi's arms ached intensely, and his blood and qi churned within him. He quickly sat cross-legged and began to practice breathing technique to recover. He would fight again. Though I haven't cultivated an ancestral field and can't draw on vast amounts of spiritual energy to boost my power, my Jade Void breathing technique allows me to mobilize spiritual power faster and more continuously, partially compensating for the difference. Half an hour later, Li Weiyi fully recovered. He once again pressed his palm against the psychic telekinetic stone wall. Whoosh! Within the wall, even brighter spiritual light, spiritual qi, and scriptures converged like countless threads. A new mural emerged, depicting a handsome figure, taller and more imposing than the 13-year-old Yanju. He held a 10-foot-long spear and stepped out of the stone wall in a single stride. With a flick of his long spear, Yang Shencang unleashed concentric ripples of spiritual qi from its tip. In the distant medicinal cuisine hall, Elder Ao Shan reminded, "It's the 100 silver meridians pure silver immortal physique, Yang Shencang." Li Weiyi was taken aback, the strongest cultivator in Li Prefecture, sect leader Yang Shencang of the Sui sect. That's him. This psychic telekinetic mural was purchased many years ago. Yang Shencang just happened to cultivate 100 meridian veins, which is the threshold for the 100 meridians pure silver veins immortal physique in the surging spring realm. Defeat him, and you'll pass the second trial, Elder Ao Shan said. The gatekeeper elder scoffed. Don't mislead the boy. While the number of meridian veins does influence a martial mystic cultivator's combat strength, a few more or less will never be the decisive factor in victory or defeat. Yang Shencang was once invincible in the southern territory during his youth, and his battle tactics were already highly refined in the surging spring realm. Yang Shencang's record of defeating 6 clan chiefs of the Zhu Li tribe in succession was legendary. Li Weiyi dared not underestimate him. With a flash of his sword, Li Weiyi struck first. Yang Shencang stood firm as a mountain, his long spear quivering. The spear's tip sealed off every angle of attack, maximizing the weapon's advantage of being an inch longer and an inch stronger. In the next instant, the spear swung like an iron rod, its shadows filling the sky and enveloping Li Weiyi. Boom! Li Weiyi met the blow head-on, testing Yang Shencang's strength. The moment his sword touched the spear's shadow, Li Weiyi immediately felt the fundamental difference between his 100 meridian pure silver immortal physique and Yang Shencang's 100 veins mortal body. Yang Shencang's power was far greater, surpassing Yanju by a significant margin. Even at the surging spring realm, Li Weiyi was confident he could lift the 5 seas pillars. I can't afford to clash head-on, he thought, his arm throbbing with pain and numbness. He immediately activated his movement technique to retreat and create distance. But the increased distance only favored the spear's reach. Yang Shencang seized the opportunity, his 10-foot-long weapon moving like a living dragon, swirling a vortex of spiritual qi that relentlessly pursued Li Weiyi. Knowing escape was impossible, Li Weiyi channeled the spiritual qi from his Fengfu acupoint, turned, and thrust his sword forward. Simultaneously, he executed the clear void cicada chase step beneath his feet. Sizzle. After piercing the vortex, his sword's surface scraped along the spear shaft, sending sparks of spiritual light flying. Li Weiyi's aim was clear, to pierce Yang Shencang's forehead. But it seemed his every calculation had been anticipated. Yang Shencang's body suddenly glowed brightly as he channeled ancestral field spiritual energy, unleashing a massive spiritual qi handprint that descended with the force of heaven and earth. Bang! The yellow dragon sword was knocked off course, nearly flying out of Li Weiyi's grasp. Gritting his teeth, Li Weiyi channeled the spiritual qi from his meridian veins, hastily forming a palm strike to meet Yang Shencang's blow head-on. His body slid backward 5 meters, his entire arm numb. A trace of blood clung to his lips. As the spear thrust forward again, he could only shout, "I concede." Yang Shencang turned and walked into the psychic stone wall. Elder Ao Shan was more agitated than anyone else, slamming his hand on the railing. Ah! Why didn't he use his ancestral field spiritual energy to fight? Yang Shencang is strong, but not invincible. Yanju could have held his own against him until his ancestral field spiritual energy ran out. The gatekeeper elder said softly, perhaps he hasn't cultivated his ancestral field yet. Elder Ao Shan turned to glare at him, then leapt out of the medicinal cuisine hall. With a few quick steps, he appeared beside Li Weiyi and pointed a finger at his ancestral field. Li Weiyi stumbled back 3 steps, staring at Elder Ao Shan as if he had seen a ghost. Little or she see, protect him during the trial. With that, Elder Ao Shan and the gatekeeper elder walked toward the mountain gate, no longer in the mood to play chess. The 3 hidden ones were still reeling from the shock. Could it be that he was only at the 8th spring cultivation level? Meanwhile, Li Weiyi walked away in a daze, his mood utterly crushed. It felt as if a mountain were pressing down on his chest. Yaoyan, who had been waiting for him at the edge of the blood forest, finally breathed a sigh of relief when she saw him return safely. She stepped forward and asked, "How did it go?" "I lost. Utterly defeated. I had no chance at all." He seemed to have no weaknesses or openings. He's acting like he doesn't even see me, Li Wei muttered to himself, passing Yaoyan as if she were invisible and heading alone toward his cave dwelling. Yaoyan had never seen him so dejected before. Feeling a pang of sympathy, she watched Yin Ershisi follow him into the blood forest and asked, "What's wrong with him? He seems deeply shaken." Shaken. Yin Ershisi ground her teeth in frustration. "Who's really shaken here?" She retorted, "You didn't see how he utterly dominated Yinju earlier." Yaoyan's crescent-shaped eyes widened in surprise. Even ordinary Nine-Spring Supreme couldn't withstand a single move from Yinju. Then why is he saying he lost? Yaoyan couldn't understand. Yin Ershisi explained, he lost to Yang Shenjing, the 100 Meridians pure silver immortal physique. Yaoyan was even more puzzled. It's perfectly normal for a mortal to lose to a pure immortal physique at the same cultivation level, especially 100 silver meridians pure immortal physique, one of the best among pure immortal physiques and the number 1 cultivator in Li Prefecture, Yang Shenjing. What's there to be upset about? Yin Ershisi stared at Yaoyan intently. Pure immortal physiques are indeed formidable, she thought, but you've underestimated the situation this time. Too lazy to explain further, Yin Ershisi approached Li Wei's cave dwelling and knocked on the stone door. "May I come in?" The door was already open. Yin Ershisi had barely stepped inside when Li Wei burst out, appearing before her with renewed fighting spirit in his eyes. "I've just broken through. I can still learn more heavenly Tao and law harmony techniques and use Sistanch and medicinal cuisine to temper my body. I think if you give me a month, I can definitely defeat him. Oh, and I can also refine my golden vein mark. You want to break through to the 9th spring?" Yin Ershisi said, her face darkening. "And there's also the legendary 10th spring," Li Wei added. He's really pushing his luck now, Yin Ershisi thought, but she forced herself to remain calm. "I'm here under orders to teach you the disguise techniques. Once you enter the hidden sect, you can no longer easily reveal your former face and identity. You're no longer the person you once were, no longer the same name." Li Wei asked, "Not even for a divine hidden one?" "Divine hidden ones naturally have greater freedom," Yin Ershisi replied. "Then why are you telling me all this?" Li Wei asked. If Yin Ershisi hadn't known the other person might truly become a divine hidden one, she would have already snapped back. But as it was, she could only endure, gritting her teeth as she replied in a calm voice. "You're not a divine hidden one yet. We have to follow the rules." Li Wei asked, "Is there a time limit for the trial?" "You have a month to complete it," Yin Ershisi replied. "I'm still no match for someone with 100 meridians pure silver immortal physique, and the Changeling gang has 2 5 Seas realm experts and many 7 springs experts. This will be a tough battle," Li Wei said. Yin Ershisi said, "I'll accompany you to Zhuli City. 2 7 springs and 5 Seas realm experts are nothing. What I mean is, I need to go into closed door cultivation for a while. I need to at least master the 5 Seas pillars, practice a few heavenly Tao and law harmony techniques, and cultivate my mental spiritual power." Li Wei was lost in planning and contemplation, completely focused on improving his strength as much as possible. Zhuli City was fraught with danger, and the Changeling gang was backed by the Yang clan and the Sui sect. Yin Ershisi drifted away, sealing the stone door behind her. "I'll come back tomorrow to teach you the disguise technique." Blank. End of chapter. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 2. Zhuli Insect Valley. Chapter 58-85 Trouble Brewing. 58th of Volume 2. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. After breaking through to the 8th spring, Yaoyan moved to the Silver Beach River Valley. There, it was easier to cultivate silver veins. As a pure immortal physique, who wouldn't strive for 100 silver veins and the innate talent of an inheritor? Li Wei, already possessing 100 silver veins, saw no need to move and remained at the Blood Forest Cliff. Living alone, undisturbed, allowed for more focused cultivation. He used the spatial power of the Buddha's relic to devour light and nurture fire, cultivating without restraint, free from the fear of his secret being exposed. At the same time, he practiced the Azure King's refining tempering method, absorbing light particles from the natural world and refining them into his 96 silver veins, aiming to forge golden meridian vein. No matter how elusive the 10th spring might be, he had to try. Yet after more than 20 days, not a single one of his 96 veins showed any change. That day, Li Wei sat cross-legged in the forest, his fingers forming a seal as he channeled spiritual qi from his Fengfu acupoint into his veins. His entire right arm instantly became scorching hot. Whoosh! Countless blood-red fallen leaves swirled around him, driven by the spiritual qi radiating from his arm. He thrust a finger forward. A beam of bright, powerful spiritual qi shot forth from his fingertip. Boom! 5 meters away, the cliff wall was shattered by the spiritual energy beams, sending rocks tumbling down. Li Wei stood up and walked over to examine the cliff. He found a depression the size of a wine cup and 3 inches deep, as if struck by a spear. The cliff walls of Zhu Li Insect Valley were mostly composed of metallic mineral rock, incredibly hard. To achieve such an effect from 5 meters away demonstrated the remarkable concentration of spiritual qi in that single finger strike. Finally, I've cultivated the Sihang Enlightenment finger technique to Heavenly Dao and Law Harmony Realm. It's now a lethal surprise attack. How could any enemy anticipate such a move from a Spring Surge Realm martial mystic cultivator? With 7 Heavenly Dao and Law Harmony Realm martial techniques at my disposal, how far behind Yang Shenjing am I now? Li Huayi left the Blood Forest Cliff, intending to test the 5 Seas Pillar. Over the past 20 days, he had not only gorged himself on medicinal cuisine daily but also devoured 100 pounds of 500-year-old Sistanch with the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors. His physical strength had naturally increased dramatically. Though merely a mortal, his skin radiated a lustrous, textured glow, and his entire being exuded a vigorous, spirited aura, a captivating blend of extraordinary charm and martial prowess. The nascent aura of a martial mystic powerhouse had begun to take shape. As he approached the eternally flowing blood river, Li Huayi noticed a breathtakingly beautiful figure meditating below the cliff face bearing the ancient inscriptions, Zhu Li Insect Valley. The light from the luminous plants along the riverbanks illuminated her. The grass beneath her seemed like a soft, shimmering carpet. She wore a pale yellow robe, her raven hair tied up with a jade hairpin, and her face was even more radiant and white than the jade itself, giving her an ethereal, otherworldly air. Unfortunately, she was still too young, only 15 years old, and her figure was still slender, with only a slight curve to her chest. Li Huayi knew better than to judge her by appearances. Though she seemed as harmless as a crane or a gazelle, she was actually a ruthless competitor. After moving to the Silver Beach River Valley, she had eliminated all the 8th Spring martial mystic cultivators within days. He still vividly remembered the sudden strike she unleashed against Li Qing. During the first trial, she hadn't attacked him, likely because she was worried about disturbing the spider swarm. Li Huayi pondered this, then strolled over. What's this? No more opponents. Are you preparing to comprehend the battle technique intent of the Zhu Li God and become a divine hidden one directly? Yao Yan's eyelashes fluttered, revealing a pair of breathtakingly beautiful eyes that sent shivers down Li Huayi's spine. She raised her slender, swan-like neck and gazed at the 4 ancient characters carved into the cliff face, brimming with Taoist essence. Her red lips parted slightly as she spoke, her voice soft as a celestial melody. Among this batch of competitors, besides you, who else is a match for me? But breaking through to the 9 springs within a year is too difficult. Without breaking through, I'm no match for you. So my only chance lies here. Li Huayi tried to comfort her, don't be so pessimistic. What if I die during the trials? Besides, you could always assassinate me. Poison, schemes. Using honorable methods to kill someone is the most exhausting. Yao Yan's bright, gemstone-like azure eyes turned to him, her voice as gentle as a heavenly chime, were all men this two-faced? Don't think I don't know. Yin or Shi told me everything. I understand everything. I'm just a little young, not an idiot. Li Huayi was slightly stunned. What nonsense has she been spouting now? Yao Yan lowered her gaze to the clusters of vibrant wildflowers blooming in the grass, a hint of emotion welling up in her eyes. She murmured softly, she said you'll risk everything to defeat the 3 people on the psychic, telekinetic, stone wall and compete for the Divine Hidden One title. Only then will I have a chance to live. No, I'm competing for the Divine Hidden One. Li Huayi feared that further explanation would only deepen the misunderstanding. After a moment's thought, he changed his approach. Anyone who's come this far would want to skip the ranks and become a Divine Hidden One, right? So, I'm competing for the Hidden One position for myself, not for anyone else. Don't let Yin or Shi mislead you. She's always had a prejudice against me, maybe out of jealousy, who knows? Yao Yan murmured softly, what's the point of their existence? To keep risking their lives for a position they're destined never to obtain. Didn't you say that? Yes. Li Huayi couldn't deny it. Didn't you just say you were only doing this for yourself? Isn't that a contradiction? Yao Yan's logic was clear. She fixed Li Huayi with a determined, spirited gaze, like a rare orchid blooming in the Hurricane Gorge. I know the chances of comprehending the Zhu Li God's battle technique intent are incredibly slim as my own life expectancy. But you're fighting so hard. How can I just sit back and take it for granted? Let's work together and challenge this cruel fate. If even one of us succeeds, we'll have won. Li Huayi couldn't meet her gaze. And he dared not reach out to grasp the slender, jade-like hand she extended, carved as if from crystal ice fairy jade. You keep meditating. I'm going to find Yin or Shi and settle this. Li Huayi turned and fled as if escaping a nightmare, taking deep breaths. Misinformation, rumors, and loose tongues, they were all to blame. He couldn't be either too good or too bad, he just wanted to be an ordinary person with a little bit of human warmth. How had he gotten into this mess? Arriving at the hidden sect's mountain gate, Li Huayi bowed to the elderly gatekeeper. Elder, please announce my arrival. I wish to see Yin or Shi. A bright aura of spiritual qi surged within the elder's chest, then erupted from his mouth, his voice amplified by the qi as he shouted into the mountain gate, "Shower Shi Si. Someone wants to see you." His voice was so loud it could probably be heard dozens of miles away, echoing through the insect valley for a long time. Li Wei hadn't expected the gatekeeper's announcement method to be so straightforward. Didn't he worry about disturbing the other hidden ones? He walked over to the 5 C's pillar. Li Wei began warming up, practicing his fists and palms, trying to get himself pumped up. Whoosh! Yin'er Shi arrived with incredible speed, riding on a wave of spiritual qi. In moments, she transformed into a gust of wind, landing beside the gatekeeper. Her gaze immediately locked onto Li Wei in the distance. Is he really going to try to catch up to a 5 C's realm body with his spring surge realm physique? Rise! He roared. Li Wei stood in a horse stance, his hands gripping the 5 C's pillar, one above the other. With a sudden burst of force, he strained upwards. His legs sank lower, while his arms slowly rose. The muscles and bones within his body emitted faint creaking sounds. Gradually, the 5 C's pillar lifted off the ground. It rose a full foot. After holding it steady for a moment, Li Wei released his grip. With a thunderous crash, the 5,500-pound iron pillar slammed back to the ground, shaking the earth. The gatekeeper, who had already risen to his feet and craned his neck to watch, now exchanged astonished glances with Yin'er Shi. They couldn't believe the surge in Li Wei's physical strength in less than a month. If he trained for another year or two, wouldn't he be able to lift the 5 C's pillar with ease? Li Wei couldn't hide the joy in his eyes as he turned and asked, "Am I now qualified to temper my golden vein meridians?" Of course. You've already read the Azure King's refining tempering method. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. You must temper at least one golden vein meridian. Even just one will make all the difference. The gatekeeper was inwardly thrilled. After a 60-year cycle, a true hidden one seedling had finally emerged. In the eyes of the hidden sect, a hidden one had to be stronger than an inheritor to truly serve as the core and final defense of the Zhu Li clan. While Yin Zhu was already impressive, he still fell slightly short compared to Kang Li. This young man had the potential to become a counterpart to Kang Li, forming the two pillars of the Zhu Li clan a century from now. The only flaw was that he wasn't a true Li people. I need to find a way to keep him tethered to us. Yin'er Shi, come with me. I need to speak with you privately, Li Wei said, his tone unfriendly. Yin'er Shi frowned slightly, her eyes clouded with confusion. She had never seen a trial taker act so arrogant in front of a hidden one. The gatekeeper, thinking he had grasped the situation, urged, "Hurry along now. You young people wouldn't want us old fogies eavesdropping on your secrets." After leaving the mountain gate and walking some distance away, Li Wei cut straight to the point. You're a hidden one, at the 5 C's realm. You have freedom of speech. I'll say this once, stop talking nonsense in front of Yaoyan. You're already causing problems. Yaoyan had revealed her name to Li Wei herself. Yin'er Shi was bewildered and indignant. When did I ever talk nonsense? Li Wei replied, this time, the fault lies mostly with me, so I won't hold you accountable. But what exactly did you tell her after the spider cave trial? I didn't say anything, Yin'er Shi replied. Li Wei stared into her eyes, confirming she wasn't lying. Confusion clouded his mind. That's strange. At the time, she was clearly agitated, as if I had designs on her. Yin'er Shi suddenly realized something. After the first trial ended, when we returned from the spider cave, I escorted her back to her cave dwelling. When she woke up, she asked me, why didn't you kill me in the spider cave? Instead, you even gave me precious medicine. At the time, I just blurted out, maybe it's because you're pretty enough. Is there a problem with that? A little. But not a major one. Li Wei carefully considered the situation. Yin'er Shi didn't seem to have any reason to deliberately mislead him, so he decided not to dwell on it. Let's leave this matter at that. By the way, have you decided about the business in the spider cave? Yin'er Shi glanced quickly left and right, then whispered, you're already under close surveillance. Once you leave the river valley, it'll be difficult to evade the two elders, especially stewing delicacies. His psychic telekinesis power is exceptionally strong. I suggest we wait a little longer. He finally relented. Li Wei had always assumed Yin'er Shi was utterly principled and impossible to sway, even to the point of planning to act alone. But it turned out her principles weren't quite so rigid. After only 3 attempts at persuasion, she finally gave in, though she remained hesitant, uncertain, and cautious. Noticing Li Wei's strange gaze, Yin'er Shi straightened her posture and said coldly, this is the only time. Never again. Then let's go to the trial grounds first. Time is short, and it will take several days to reach Zhu Li City, Li Wei replied. After spending an hour packing their belongings, Yin'er Shi led Li Wei into the hidden sect. They followed a stone path carved into the cliff face, climbing step by step. Within the hidden sect, the power of law grew even more potent, and the mist swirled like vast, ethereal veils. Various martial arts techniques were etched into the stone walls. So the way out is through the hidden sect itself, not the underground river. The underground river route must have been a decoy to prevent being followed when receiving trial candidates. The hidden sect is so cautious and secretive, it's no wonder even clan chiefs within the sect don't know the full details of its inner workings, Li Wei thought, secretly admiring their meticulousness. After climbing thousands of steps, they finally reached the top of the cliff. Before them lay a vast stone platform, surrounded by sheer cliffs, as if the peak of a stone mountain had been sheared off. The area above was completely shrouded in mist, obscuring the top. Yin Shi waved her hand lightly, and a surge of powerful spiritual qi erupted from her palm, flowing into the ground. Whoosh! Formation glyphs lit up on the ground, connecting to form a circular array diagram 4 meters in diameter. Li Wei stepped into the diagram, his expression puzzled. Can we really leave the Zhuli Insect Valley using this? Yin Shi smiled without answering. Within the diagram, hundreds of formation glyphs spun rapidly, their light growing brighter and coalescing into a white cloud of spiritual energy. A strong sense of weightlessness washed over them. Li Wei realized that the diagram was carrying them upward, enveloped in the spiritual energy cloud, as if they were soaring straight into the sky. Is this a flying formation? After ascending countless meters using the spiritual energy cloud flying formation, the diagram shuddered slightly and came to a halt in midair. Let's go, we're here. Yin Shi was the first to step out of the formation diagram and onto a stone bridge. Li Wei already had a suspicion, but he still asked, where are we? Zhuli City, Yin Shi replied. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.